Standing by right now is News 13 legal analyst Mark NeJame, who has been watching this trial or this jury selection right along with us. So, Mark, what are your impressions so far of what we've heard?
I like what I've heard. I think we're going to get to a jury. The issue is going to be, they seem to be honest, they seem to be forthright. I've been listening for any cues or clues which might suggest that they're stealth type of jurors, that they're really wanting to jump on this jury for whatever attention or possibilities come from that, but I haven't heard any of that in this first handful. They seem like good folk who are not particularly focused on watching the news. A lot of people do not, and they seem to be people that are relatively intelligent and are being honest. Obviously, there needs to be some deeper questioning, but from this first review, I think we're getting some jurors that we all hoped we would get, and that is jurors that are not forming opinions, that are not biased, and who are not so lacking in knowledge about the world that they would really be kind of worthless as jurors. They seem to be intelligent people who just don't really follow the news or particular highlighted stories that are, day-to-day stories for most of us.
It's hard to believe when you hear this, Mark, that there are actually some jurors or people, because these are all jurors who are from Seminole County. They're from right here in this area. Yeah. Are you all shocked that they know so little about this case?
Well, there's a saying, right? Ignorance is bliss, and they might be the happiest among us because they've chosen to stay far away from what's going on. And there's a lot of people like that. I've been saying for quite a while now, and I've been asked over and over, are we going to be able to get a jury? And I've just said, a lot of people simply don't follow the news. They don't read newspapers. They don't watch TV news. They don't set their default on Channel 13. Shame on them. And what they do is they just completely stay blind to the world. And a lot of people have made a healthy choice with that. They just don't want to deal, as you heard one of the jurors say. I liked his answer, juror number 30, and he was basically just simply saying there's just too much ugliness out there, and he chooses not to watch it. For those of us who do follow this and do like to stay current, it's a bit foreign to us. But there's a lot of people out there who would rather watch reality, Housewives of New Jersey, as you heard one lady say, versus watching the news. And so we're going to get to a jury. I mean, it's just going to happen. This first group, now it's going to take a while. I mean, this estimates are about a half an hour a person, and we're slightly exceeding them because, remember, it's just not 30 minutes of questioning. It's then releasing them, going to get the other one, having the sidebar conferences. But if we were to go through it 30 minutes a day per juror on an average, or a little bit more, we'll get a pool together relatively soon, and I think we're going to find 6 people and some alternates in the projected time, 1 to 3 weeks.
No, Mark, something you always say, there's never been in the history of America that they have not been able to pick a jury. They will pick a jury. That will happen. Yeah, and it's just a matter of how long it's going to take, right?
That's right, and I think from the looks of these, or from the sound, we don't know what they look like, from the sounds of these initial jurors, they're really letting you know that philosophically they don't judge early. They come in, they want to hear all the facts, and then they're prepared to do their civic duty. Also, it sounds like there's been a good vetting process from the first questionnaires that went. This is not a common pool. What I mean by that is that the vast majority of people would not be giving answers as these few jurors or prospective jurors are given. Why? Because they've already vetted them out. Those who it would work a tremendous hardship, those who have family or business obligations that couldn't serve, those who might have plans, trips or health issues, or caring for another, be it a child or an elderly parent. All those issues are likely. They've been gone through already, so we're getting now the first wave of those who don't meet any of those disqualification points, and they're saying that they can serve. Also, we got a little glimpse for the first time by when the questions were asked of the potential jurors of what's on the jury card or the jury questionnaire. And we know that some of those questions were, have they formed an opinion? Are they so biased with their opinion that they would not be able to render an impartial verdict? So we know some of those basic questions, which we always talk about, they were actually included on the questionnaire. So we know that through the vetting process that some people have been automatically excluded. Because if they said, yes, I believe X, fill in the blank, either one side or the other, there's a great likelihood that they're gone. And also that gets rid of some people that might not even have formed a solid opinion, but they're writing it down anyway because they don't want to serve. And it's better to have a juror who's embracing their civic duty and wants to be there, although it's a challenge, rather than somebody who's going to grudgingly be there and may rush a judgment, not pay attention to what's going on in court, or might hurry up a verdict just so they can get back home. So I think so far so good.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. We're going to continue to monitor what's happening there inside the court. Let's now turn it over to Danny Trainer for a check of our weather.
Pretty interesting, Kelly. We have our live online chat that's been going on all day long right here at cfnews13.com/chat. Many of you talking about the jury selection, and particularly, each and every person who comes through. Many of you have comments on whether you think that they would be a good potential juror as part of this trial. And many of you also having a hard time believing that they haven't heard about this case. I want to bring in our legal analyst, Mark NeJame, just to talk about this a little bit. And Mark, many people having a hard time, believing some of these jurors. So as an attorney, how do you know that a potential juror is telling the truth? Is it body language? Is it their voice? From your perspective, what's your take?
Yes, yes, and more yeses. You simply use your instincts, you use your trial skills, you use your experience, you use your common sense, and you usually get it right, but sometimes you're fooled. The reality of it is you're dealing with people. It's a very unnatural setting where you're asking them these questions, following rules of evidence and following the law in a courtroom setting. So it's not like you're sitting down with somebody and chatting with them in your living room for several hours. You're gleaning what you can out of all the things that you talked about and more. So what I think a lot of people make a mistake about, though, is that you don't have to not ever heard about, I hope I said that correctly, ever heard about the case. That's not the standard. You're allowed to have heard about the case. You're allowed to have even talked about the case. What you're not allowed to do, though, is form opinions that are so solid and wedded in concrete that you cannot render a fair and impartial decision if you're to be seated in the jury. So that's where a lot of the questioning goes. And they, of course, the lawyers, appropriately so, want to find out if they have heard about the case, what have they heard, who have they heard it from. You hear questions, did you speak to your spouse about it, or your children, or your family members? Why is that important? Because it's assumed, which is always dangerous, but it's assumed that one might, in fact, be influenced strongly by the opinion of a family member, a husband, a wife, a child. So you want to find out, is it water cooler chat at work, or is it really something that you all sit and talk about at the family dinner table? Those are the things that they want to get into and try to glean as much as they can from the potential jurors. I think that so far we're hearing some regular folk who simply don't follow the news that much, don't get wrapped up in all the drama of a case, and it's another case to them that they see come and go on the TV news if they see it at all. And I think we're getting there.
Pretty interesting. Our legal analyst, Mark NeJame, giving your take. We will check back in with you in just a little bit. Just to let you know, our live online chat still open right now. It's your chance to voice your opinion and ask your questions at cfnews13.com/chat.